Warzone Duos has been out for about a week now, and this mode is absolutely wild. It puts a huge emphasis on teamwork that's very different to other modes. If you want to do well in Warzone Duos, you've got to work together as an efficient and deadly team. You're so much more dependent on one another than in trios or quads. If one of you goes down, that can easily mean game over for you, as you've either got to win a 2 versus 1 or pull off a risky revive whilst under gunfire. As a result, you're going to need to play smart and calculate each part of your match in order to give yourself the best chance of pulling off a win. This video is going to be showing you a breakdown of one of my own Warzone Duos wins. I'm going to be showing you the tips, tricks and strategies that we were able to use in order to come out on top. You're going to be able to apply all of the advice given in this video to your own games. So if you're looking for a guide that's going to show you how to improve your Warzone performance and pick up more wins, then this is the video for you. We started off this match at military base. As you'll see, there were 3 recons around that we immediately prioritised. Picking a remote location meant we'd be able to loot up quickly whilst chasing these recons without being targeted. Whilst it might not be the most intense of drops, it allowed us to get a huge tactical advantage over the rest of the lobby. If you're concerned with winning, having a tactical drop is far more important than early game combat. We were also able to grab a helicopter, which meant we could hop between recons as fast as possible. Within only a few minutes of the match starting, we'd managed to complete 2 recons and acquire the cash needed to get a loadout drop. Getting a good start like this to a match is definitely beneficial if you're chasing a win in Warzone. Even though we were only a few minutes into the game, we already had a huge advantage over enemy players. You'll notice I select an AX50 loadout as well. This is so that I've got weapons that can tackle enemies at any range. I would strongly recommend that you get familiar with a long range weapon of some variety for Warzone. It doesn't necessarily have to be a sniper. A marksman rifle or LMG can also serve you extremely well if you're confident with them. Throughout this gameplay, you'll see me heckle enemies at long range, taking pot shots to pin them in cover, wasting their plates, as well as just for dropping enemy players. All of this is at a range where their weapons aren't going to be effective against me. One of the most powerful things you can do in Warzone is to engage an enemy at a range where their weapons aren't effective. Having a long range weapon allows you to do this with ease, hence why they're so important. Thanks to us completing a 3rd recon, we were able to make a super early rotation to a position that would benefit us for the later rings. We'd completed 3 recons before the first ring had even closed, and this is what gave us an edge over other players. Grabbing a 2nd loadout had also let me grab an MP7, so now I was well equipped for both close and long range, which is always ideal. The recons allow us to flank far and wide, putting us ahead of almost all other teams in the match. We'd done a minimal amount of fighting at this point, as picking a quieter drop point had allowed us to get well equipped without any hassle. Getting so far ahead of enemy teams meant we could worry about being defensive rather than offensive, which is much easier to do. As you can see, we went about securing the area around us and found ourselves a duo lurking at the edge of the map. Now I hope that this sort of engagement demonstrates that sitting back and hiding from the match is not the way to play. Getting up close and personal, aggressively pushing enemy teams is way more fun than hanging back. Now we're not playing recklessly though, but tactically. By heckling with snipers and LMGs from range, it allows us to force them to replay whilst we push up and catch them off guard. Playing like this in a tactical and logical way is what makes dropping enemy teams so much easier in duos. We were in a great position at this point, and moving to a different area wasn't going to help us. For us, being patient was going to be much more beneficial than chasing kills. Knowing when to hang back and wait is equally as important as knowing when to push up towards enemies. Whilst waiting for the ring to shrink, it's crucial that you stay on your toes and move throughout an area. Staying still makes you an easy target for any watching players, and could well spell the end of your game if you're not careful. Despite the fact that we were waiting for the next zone, we're surveying the area to watch for likely enemy movements, and making sure no enemy teams get into a superior position over us. Whilst doing this, we're also planning our next rotation, and figuring out how we want to use cover. I cannot stress enough how important it is to always be vigilant and stay one step ahead mentally. This will give you a nice advantage over the countless other players who will simply move when they have to, without thinking about what the best movement is or how to do it. I would also like to reiterate that sitting out and hiding in a corner of the map is just not the way to go about winning. This team here was simply hiding, avoiding any form of combat or movement entirely. As you can see, getting taken by surprise when you play like this doesn't end well. This team ended up offering 2 easy kills with very minimal effort on our part. I did make one mistake in this gameplay though, that almost cost us the match, and that was not buying a self-revive when I had the chance. Getting down at this point in the match left us horrendously exposed. The enemy team had a numbers advantage and could have easily pushed us, but for some reason they didn't. This let us get a revive off and get back into the fight. This is exactly why you want to push an advantage like this, and not hesitate for too long. If these enemies had pushed us, we wouldn't have had a chance of defending ourselves. This final fight was incredibly close and could have gone either way for us, but by playing to the only existing cover in the ring, we were able to force the enemy team out into the open. Add in some accurate sniping, and this team was dropped before they got a real chance to wipe us out. This gameplay is a great example of why tactics are the most important factor in any Warzone match. Completing recons early game meant we could quickly set ourselves up for the rest of the match. Grabbing loadouts and rotating to a good position before most other players had even considered doing so gave us an incredible advantage over enemy teams. Utilising a variety of ranged weapons also let us deal with enemies before they got close enough to where they could be considered a threat. If you want to increase the likelihood of you winning Warzone matches, then playing tactically is honestly the best thing you can do. Plan your movements, calculate the best routes to take, and always put yourself in the most advantageous position. We didn't take any unnecessary risks and stayed calm and calculated throughout the game. By avoiding recklessly pushing enemies, we were able to create an advantage for ourselves that let us win the match fairly comfortably. I hope this video has helped you out, and that you can take away some good tips and tricks that can help you out in the Warzone. Feel free to adapt any of the advice given in this video to your own needs and playstyle. I would always recommend using a setup you're confident with, not just one that you see other people using. Experiment with your setup and playstyle to see what works for you. So long as you're playing smart and learning how the game works, you'll only perform better and better with time. Focus on your position, and always try to figure out how you can give yourself a leg up over your enemies. Combining these factors will give you the best chance possible of consistently winning Warzone matches.